Explore some of the issues. I'm joined now in our studios by Dr. Haleem, Assistant Professor in the International Center for Political Violence and Terrorism Research at the Rajaratnam School of International Studies here in Singapore. Professor, thank you so much for joining us. So many deaths taking place in the month of November. How do we try to understand the essence of this issue and why is this all happening?
I think fundamentally, in order to understand the essence of ISIS or for that matter, any other radical Islamist group, we need to get beyond the manner in which these groups themselves present their cause. In other words, we need to get beyond the manner in which they justify their violence, which is namely linking religiosity to violence and ultimately linking violence to morality. In order to, this in my argument, the justifications are always moral consequentialists. They offer reasons, essentially the moral imperative of actions, including that of violence. That is not the essence of a group. The essence we can find in the explanations for an action, why something has to be done. And these explanations, I argue, are found in the numerous notions that are commonly invoked in radical Islamist rhetoric of temporary and contextually varied Islamist extremist groups and movements, including ISIS. And what are these notions? The frequently invoked notions are notions such as a rejection against humiliation, oppression, and fundamentally against negation.
So why not address these issues in a proper forum? Why take the violent route?
This is, of course, an age-old question of why violence. There are many theories in terms of why resort to violence. One of the most fundamental quick answers to that would be a sense that there are no other resorts left. So in order to make the largest impact, you engage in an act that grabs the headlines. If it is indeed a struggle for recognition is what I'm arguing, a struggle for self-assertion, struggle against negation, then the best way to be prominent is to engage in violence that gets the headlines. And what better way than to use an ideology that resonates most effectively amongst the people that it's targeting.
And they are indeed grabbing headlines, Professor, using traditional media and social media to further their cause.
Right, which again does not explain their success. This is simply a vehicle that becomes very convenient for their use. The success of these movements it lays in their very existentially appealing rhetoric. And by that I mean rhetoric that appeals to the fundamental human fears and desires. That is the fear of being oppressed, being negated, of becoming a slave, if you may, and the desires to be recognized, to be seen as equal to the other, or in many cases, as in ISIS rhetoric, to present the self as superior, to challenge the norms that have been handed down to them authoritatively.
And we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your insights. Dr. Haleem, Assistant Professor at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies in Singapore.